Volatility is here, so watch out, because that not only means that you're going to see big swings down, but it does mean you have the potential once you base out to see a big swing up. And we do have some structure to pay attention to here, so it's good to do some technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvidia, AMD, and Meta going forward, looking at AMC and GME as well, always keeping that in the back of our minds. And we do have the daily expected moves here. This is your 68% zone for the close tomorrow, and that is something you really want to pay attention to on Friday as those options are expiring. So we want to pay attention to bigger swings because we know volatility is here. And if you need these daily expected moves for every stock that we do cover on this channel as of right now, you can get that down in the link in the description with the Patreon. Now, I really quickly wanted to talk about the expected moves for today because we actually ended up back inside of it for the SPY, which I thought that was interesting. So overall, the target looked like it was that daily expected move. And we actually did close inside that, which if you were paying attention throughout the day, you might have seen some good signals here. You might have seen these flat bars down here on the MACD, and now you are seeing a slight uptick on the MACD. So are we going to get some kind of bigger dead cat bounce? Remember, we like those 30-minute charts a little bit better, and we have no divergence on this telling you there can be some kind of big turnaround, okay? So we could be seeing the actual dead cat bounce, not just something tiny like this one here. We actually could see a more meaningful bounce tomorrow, and we'll see. We have some earnings coming out and things like that, so we need some points to pay attention to. 558.06 to the upside, and we do have 547.26 to the downside. Now, just a note that this area here would be inside the daily and the weekly expected move. So this is the perfect zone to end up in by the end of the day tomorrow. So do we see this actually able to curl up on this MACD? Now, there is a problem with this MACD, and if you take that new swing trading course that's down in the description for 50 bucks, we talk about the positioning of the MACD when taking a swing trade. Yes, this looks like some kind of swing trade could be forming down towards the 200. You have the 9-day moving average right above you, but you are very negative. So it's going to take a lot of power, a lot of price action to go back to positive territory. And by the time you actually do cross, you might already be overbought on your RSI. So the most likely scenario from here is we haven't necessarily seen some good tapering yet. Okay, so we haven't seen that good tapering yet. That kind of changes the angle a little bit, and then we can start to go the other direction for a more solid bounce. So what this could be is the dead cat bounce that leads to another downturn. Okay, so we really want to pay attention to that for tomorrow. We do have some little tiny divergences in here on a 15-minute, so they can turn up the 30-minute, and that is why we want to see if this rolls up early on in the day. Right now, it's not rolled up, right? So right now, the direction is the momentum indicator saying down. But this is something that I really wanted to talk about at the beginning of this video. If you don't know, I am big into psychology. I talk about it a lot, and it's good to be into psychology when you are a trader because it's a big psychological game. But what I wanted to discuss here real quick, just for a brief moment, was what are we trying to do here? What are we all trying to do as traders in the market? And this is something that you can maybe take note of, just kind of like think about for a second. Well, we're trying to solve a problem, right? We're all trying to solve a problem. And that problem is, which way is this stock going to go? Maybe even tomorrow, right? Maybe by next week or something like that. So how can we figure out that problem? Well, we need a solution, which would be, hey, we have to find a solution to that problem, which the solution to that problem is overall reacting. But if we think about that, if we see this downward price action, there are things that can be bad reactions, and that would be an emotional reaction. Maybe you see this huge downturn and you're looking at the bigger charts and you're going, oh, this thing could really start to crash down. And then your emotional reaction is, I'm going to short everything here right at the point where we could see a bounce. So is an emotional reaction really what we want here? Not necessarily. I mean, emotion is great. It can give you a lot of energy, but you have to know how to control it. So what I overall want to do is figure out the real solution, which is a reaction. So how could we react in a positive way in order to actually be with those probabilities? And it's when you actually pay attention to these signals. This is the overall reaction that we are looking for. When we cross above that center line on the RSI, when we cross above on that MACD to the upside, when we see price action actually forming that base, when we see divergences, those type of things are when we want to react. So do we see anything on this chart right now that says we should be reacting to some kind of upside or even downside move? No, not necessarily. This right here would be an emotional reaction trying to short at a possible bounce zone here, and we are outside of our range. So the tools that we are giving you on this channel in the courses that are down in the description, while they are on huge sales, I want you to really focus on the actual solution to the problem and how you should actually be reacting, because a reaction is great, but you want reasons to react. You don't want an emotional reason like this. You want more so a reason to react with momentum. And I thought that that was a good thing to say. I thought it was very cool, kind of thought about that while I was reading my book today. So now, what would we pay attention to here then, with all that in mind? Let's just go over it one more time. Well, we are paying attention to if this crosses up, because that is the momentum telling us, hey, you might want to react because there could be some kind of bounce here that gets you close to the center line, right? So some kind of bounce could come. And then we have other tools too, like a daily expected move. So if that bounce does come, we could experience resistance here. So if we did bounce all the way up to this level, we might want to react. Maybe we want to take profit. Maybe we want to do something like that. That is overall what I want you to start to think about while you're trading. Really think about, is my reaction an emotional one, or is my reaction because of the things that I am seeing in front of me? Is the RSI getting above that center line? Is this MACD crossing? Is the price action getting above the 200 and the 9 at the same time? Is the weekly range holding as support while we bounce from it? Those are things that we need to pay attention to. And then we have to see into the future a little bit by saying, well, this doesn't look like the strongest base. So if I do get some kind of push higher here, maybe I want to react up here because we might go set up a stronger base in the future, maybe even next week. And then we could see some kind of double bottom that can actually turn around a 2-hour chart. I hope that that was overall helpful. I really thought that when I was thinking of this, it made me feel like I could explain this in a way that was truly helpful. So hopefully you were able, or at least a few of you were able to take something away from that little bit right there. But on the 30-minute, we really have to pay attention to this for the Qs, because they have actually created some kind of tapering, right? In this area, it looks like we have created some kind of base. And if I just go down one time frame into a 15-minute, you're going to see something cool here. You're going to see all the divergences that are on the 30-minute just a little bit more clear. We see the divergence here. That's this price action. We see the tapering move for the next rejection divergence, and that is getting above the center line on the RSI for the 15-minute. So now we do trade based on 30 minutes. This has crossed up. It is above the moving average. It's below the 200. So a little bit risky here. And when you're below that 200 on any time frame, the direction is for the most part down. So what you want to pay attention to here are little points, little tools that you have that give you an edge. So what are one of those tools? Well, those would be daily expected moves. You can get all of those for the other stocks down in the description below for Patreon. We do see 486.53 to the upside, and we do see 472.45 to the downside. Pretty decent size range for Friday. We do have a lot of options expiring. So is this a strong enough base at this point to funnel us to the upside here? It can. I want to be very clear about that. We have created some kind of base here. It can, but we are still far away from the center line going into a positive trend again. Going back to being bullish is going to be a little bit difficult here, because as we get up to this area, if we do get up to this area tomorrow, well, we might be a little bit overbought on this RSI, right? So we could just see this fade throughout the end of the day, see that curl back down, and maybe we create a stronger base from this. Maybe we curl up to this area and create a higher low from this. Maybe we create some kind of divergence for this type of look. Anything like that can happen. So I really wanted to push you guys to start reacting using your indicators, not reacting because you see a big drop or a big pop. Have some reasons to take a trade. It's one of the biggest points that we say in both of the courses down in the description. The swing trading one is only $50 for I think like a week or two, and then we're also going to leave that more volatile one. As volatility has scaled up, I think it would be a pain for me to increase the price on that just yet. So by the end of this month, that volatility one will be increased, and by the end of this month, most likely the swing trading one would be increased. I just wanted you guys to know about it. I don't want to talk about the course all night. I want to get through some more analysis here. Key thing to note though, this would be a perfect area for the stock market to end in by the end of the day tomorrow, because you would be in the 68% zone for your daily, and you would be back in the 68% zone for the weekly. So we could get some kind of reaction that holds us up towards this price point by the end of the day. And I'd say, hey, just be a little bit cautious if that thing is still negative by the end of the day, because that could lead towards another downturn here. As we look at Apple going forward, we see more stuff even deeper than yesterday in negative negative territory. We have a lot of things outside of their weekly expected moves. We just want to say this looks like some flagging that could be here. Do we see any short-term, little divergences or anything like that? You do. It's kind of flat here, a little bit down, but you do see it here on the RSI. So you have to pay attention to it because that could send you positive. It could send you positive, but the way we see it right now for the shorter time frames going into tomorrow, 15-minute crosses down, negativity. You're in negative territory. You continue the negative trend. 30-minute though, it did just cross up. So as of right now, the MACD is telling you you're getting some kind of bounce. See if that can take you back above 225, and then you just want to pay attention to if that is actually able to go positive here. Because if that just rolls over at any time, that negative trend will continue, and maybe you need to make a stronger base before we get a very big bounce, right? So that's what I'd pay attention to for Apple. Tesla, a little bit different, right? Now, we said Tesla might be a little bit hard because where is it? Well, it's right at that center line. Okay, so it keeps being this wonky price action right by the center line, like it can't make a decision. So the 30-minute time frame might not be the one to watch. Maybe we want to curl over into a 2-hour, just see if this confirms up, and then we would have a reason to react. If that RSI can get above the center line, if these bars can close above these moving averages here, kind of like we did a couple times, right? If we can do that again and actually curl up this MACD, confirming that momentum, you could see a breakout big move here from Tesla going forward. Now, Tesla doesn't have the most implied volatility. Gonna want to look for those daily expected moves going into Friday. So we'll pay attention to that. But I think the 2-hour here, just for a swing trade, if you haven't taken that swing trade course, this is what you look for a swing trade. As of right now, this looks pretty good if it can see an upward move and cross over this MACD. But just in case at all times, you want to be paying attention to your shorter time frame, just saying, hey, I need this to curl up for that to happen. If it curls back down, that's not going to be a good thing. But I just want you to see how we have some big swing, medium, smaller, tiny. So you're probably gearing up for a big move here from Tesla. And I'd really pay attention to that 2-hour chart. As we click over to Amazon, we're seeing an even deeper move into negative territory. So you do have divergence here between this point on the RSI, but not the MACD at the same time. So this could just be another bounce that leads to that fading. Good to have those daily expected moves on Friday, especially if you're a 0 DTE trader. I am not. I am a position trader. I am not someone who does 0 DTE very often. Every once in a while I will, but for the most part, 0 DTE, I see it more as gambling. So that's just my honest opinion. If you're good at it, I respect you for it, right? I respect anything anyone does, but we want to pay attention to if this rolls over in negative territory at any time, because you are very negative here. So it does look like that thing is adding up to be some kind of bigger dead cat bounce coming tomorrow. And the reason for that is just this 2-hour is not near crossing just yet. So you're going to need a lot of positive price action for a while to actually curl that up. And I would just say more likely it would look better if we could curl up, make a stronger base in some way, and then be able to head to the upside for Amazon. Nvidia, and a lot of these things, by the way, look at your daily charts because they have crossed over. So taking upside plays a little bit risky because it could be a up day on Friday and a down day on Monday. We've seen some crazy stuff over the weekend. It's almost like people are planning to do things and then shorting certain stocks before it happens. DJT. So Tesla Nvidia actually doing something pretty good here, actually making a pretty sturdy base. You see the divergences pretty strong here on the 15 minutes. So you kind of felt like, hey, 15-minute rejection divergence, great little green bar right here to actually take you up. Then you consolidate, you start heading up again. This is what you want to see in order to build back into positive territory from the 15-minute. That can curl up your 30-minute. That can curl up your hourly actually too. But as of right now, the 30-minute getting up towards that center line, crossing the center line on the RSI. So this could be some kind of positive move coming. Look out for some kind of rejection towards 125. But if you're able to take that back and hold it, we might be right back into a positive trend. We might have been done with this daily overall pullback. And now maybe we can see that start to close above some moving averages. We'll see. But as of right now, you are negative in negative territory, which means we have to be cautious with any upside play because all that has to do do is pop up for a second, convince everyone it's going up, and then cross down on this MACD, and then everything's over because that is a negative trend and you're most likely testing the lows, if not going to make a new one. So pay attention to that for AMD or for Nvidia, and that's going to be very important because this thing looks like it wants to go positive. You could see a good move here. We'll pay attention to it tomorrow while we're live. Make sure your notifications on and you're checking your subscriptions, as a lot of my videos have people have been saying they haven't been able to see them since I started talking about some possible corruption in the market. So what we're noticing here from something like AMD, and this is kind of why I wanted to state that little bit in the beginning, saying how, you know, just because this drops off dramatically, it's outside of a weekly expected move. You need multiple reasons to take a trade in these areas. Not hating on anyone who's trying to, you know, make some money out of AMD by saying, hey, this should go up over time. It definitely can, right? You've actually seen this was heading down like this. Now you've kind of tapered off a little sideways. So we'll see if that bounce can come. You've crossed up on this 30-minute. The only problem is, hey, what if that thing just pops up and this isn't that strong of a base, and you actually pop up for a moment and then you need to go down for a double dip, maybe into one of our previous zones, right? So maybe we want to end up in this zone, touch the top of it. That's where we could see a reaction. Now AMD, the reason I'm pointing towards that is because you were just shy of testing that 200. Maybe you actually dip down below it, but this could be an area where we start to base out even with just 2 crossings of the MACD there for AMD. So paying attention to a 2 hour, if that thing can curl up at any time, it still has a higher probability to be a lower high. I just want to be very clear about that. A lot of the time, I mean, this market's very bullish, so you can just curl up and go, but you'll notice even in the past, you'll see these flat divergences or something before these overall big moves. So this thing has to turn up and go positive, but if you can get above that 200 and the 9, you might have yourself a swing trade there for AMD. Very difficult to trade something like this because it's so far outside of that weekly expected move. So as you head higher, even if you see a solid bounce, you could reject, you know, any time throughout this if you want to roll over, but the highest you can go is maybe a retest of that weekly expected move. I would think 2 back-to-back, pretty much. How many points was this? I mean, 2 back-to-back 15-point days is probably a little bit out of the question. That doesn't happen very often unless you see some crazy good news in the market. Most likely from this area, you're going to bounce up, curl back down and create a stronger base, and then maybe this is more the signal we want to pay attention to. So I actually believe the dead cat bounce today was really a dead cat, and then now we're going to get a more lively cat that ends up dying throughout the day tomorrow or going on into Monday. We'll pay attention to it though. We always got to follow the signals. The stock market is changing at all times. Looking over at Meta, this one actually did curl up, right? It did curl up down here in negative territory, and it's trying to go higher. It's getting up above that center line on the RSI. So if this continues, you can go back into a positive trend. That's key to understand here. But is this a very strong base? This could be considered a higher low, but you may just want to roll over quickly, create that stronger base, go test that line of 453.08 that we were talking about way up in these areas, and see if you can make a base down there. I think that would be very, very good for Meta as we pull up the 2 hour. The reason I'm just saying, hey, you might want to go make a stronger base before you bounce on this 2 hour MACD, because if you bounce on this 2 hour MACD, yeah, you can see some positivity for a couple of days, but the higher likelihood here is you are going to set up a lower high. In the area I would really be paying attention to is this one right here, about 492.50. Something right in this area could be where that stops and turns back down, and then we got to start to worry about earnings on a lot of these stocks. So Meta looks like a rough one right now, but it's trying to bounce back, and if that 2 hour crosses, hey, we can see some kind of bounce, but you have to be aware if that starts to curl over at any time. And I think early on in the day, you have to be aware if this 30-minute curls over right away to make that stronger base for Meta. So now we're going to talk about AMC and GME, and you guys thought I was kidding when I said pay attention. If we see 30-minute MACDs roll over, that means most likely it's not the moment and you're going to get some kind of pullback. So as of right now, we do see AMC, and we do have the daily ranges for this as well. So if you want to see something crazy tomorrow, you got to get above like 545. I think it's 545. You got to get above that. So you're a little bit far away from there, and you are crossing down on the MACD as of this bar right here. So everything since 545, about 545, has told you we are in pullback mode, and you went negative. So that is not a good sign. You can still see some bouncing from here, but as you are negative, it's harder to go back into that positive positive trend. Right now on the 30-minute, the likelihood is to make that lower high for AMC. I'm sorry to say it, I'm still holding it, but that's what I have to say today. As we look forward, we notice that this 2-hour MACD was closer to negative territory here, setting up kind of a lower high, right? So we wanted to pay attention to that. The 2-hour was able to cross, and I said this live, if this 2-hour crosses, that's not a good thing. It means you are in a 2-hour pullback now, and now you're going negative. So we could just see more negativity from AMC. That is what your indicator is telling you until we need to react, right? Until we need to have that reaction. We're trying to solve the problem of, is AMC going up? Is AMC going down? Well, right now your indicator is saying it's going down, but if it starts to turn up, you want to then react, right? That's what we're trying to get across in today's video. As of right now, AMC on the daily has crossed over. So the daily is saying pullback. So you could see AMC end up all the way back down towards 437. But if we're going to see some crazy price action like this just flips right around, okay, awesome. But right now your MACD is telling you that AMC is going to pull down to lower prices and try to consolidate from this area maybe a little more. Hopefully that remains positive when it turns back up. Maybe earnings is something to pay attention to. We'll look at that tomorrow. As we look at GME though, it's a little bit of a different story, right? It's a little different story. So we do have that line in the sand at 29.91. We went up, we tested about, I think it was like 10 cents short of that. So that is very, very cool. But this is where we said it's either you burst through and something crazy, or the short sellers are going to double down and really fight the stock. And that's what it looks like as of right now. So if we do see, by the way, if we do see a full recovery in the stock market, then all of this was profit taking to fake people out in order to pay for the AMC and GME problem. And I think that's very, very true there. So the daily has not curled over for GME just yet. That's something to pay attention to. We're going to do this a little bit backwards now. The 2-hour is saying pullback, but it is not negative. So GME just looking a tiny bit better than AMC right now. And so this still has the potential to cross up into positive territory. This is the swing trade, right? This beats down to the center line, and then you see that thing curl up. Ooh, curls up, gets above that 9 and crosses on this MACD. You could see something crazy going on into next week. Let's look at this 30-minute though. Very negative. So at the point when you get this low on the MACD, you have to start to think this could make some kind of lower high, right? We could go up and test any kind of level here and just rotate back down. So you really want to pay attention to this crossing up. Awesome, react. And then if it crosses back down, you got to react again, because notice that this thing curled down on this MACD. We set it live. The most likely scenario is pull back, and we pull back and everyone's surprised. Do not be surprised anymore if you start to curl over on a 30-minute MACD and GME pulls back. Okay, because that's what the indicator is telling you as of right now, is you are in maybe even more than a pullback, and maybe you're just heading into negative territory. So really looking for a bounce from the 30-minute for GME tomorrow to see if see if the crazy moment is actually going to happen. As you know, this is the weekly expected move. This is where something unexpected can happen. We're going to give you those new levels over on Sunday. Now, we did have volatility doing something crazy today. All right, volatility did close, and we mentioned this in the video last night, so make sure to like and subscribe so that more people can be aware of this. In the past, we've rejected from the 200. We've rejected from the 200. We've rejected from the 200. We see a pop above it, we give it away the next day. We see a pop above it, we give it away. We see a pop above it, we give it away, right? We see a lot of rejections at the 200. The difference here is you did not reject from the 200. You crossed it. You're positive. You're getting overbought in this area. The key thing to remember about tomorrow and Monday is, as of right now, the VIX was up by more than 10%. It was up 10.02%, which tells you that you have an 85% chance for an up day in the SPY over the next 2 trading sessions. So really pay attention if we get an up day tomorrow and maybe volatility goes down by 10%, and then we see, that means we have a chance for a down day in the SPY, 85% chance. We'll pay attention to that, but the main thing you need to know is, hey, this thing was up by 10%, which on the daily, which just means, yeah, we most likely do have an 85% chance for a bounce in the in the next 2 trading sessions for the SPY. So keep that in mind. Now, tomorrow's going to be a big day. Because if you do cross up on this MACD, it means some negativity is coming, and maybe this Friday bounce is just to trap everyone. Something happens over the weekend, and then volatility just goes nuts, because this has confirmed you have triple divergence down here on the weekly scale. So everything is saying that volatility is going to start to scale up on a weekly scale, and that is something to worry about. That's why I really want to push that course down in the description for $100 right now. It is the one, how to trade in riskier markets. It has a strategy for riskier markets, but it also teaches you about the MACD, the RSI, the ranges, divergence. It teaches you a lot more than the swing trading course. So I encourage you to get started. If you're a beginner, get started with your learning, maybe with the swing trading course, but I respect you if you want to jump right in to that more informative, any kind of market trading course, because that one will be a good one for you if volatility keeps climbing here. Really pay attention to volatility tomorrow. Let's just take a peek at it on a 30-minute here. Seeing here on the 30-minute, all we really see on the 30-minute is little divergence in the near price action. So we'll see if this rolls over for a pullback. And if it just keeps going through that center line, well, then we might be getting a full retest, which means, do you see where we're at? Well, this was this morning, and that was 10%. So if we end up with a full retest tomorrow, that would be 10%. And then we'll pay attention to that and get informed about that over the weekend, because that could mean the selling might continue and this was all just a dead cat bounce. So that's all I got for you today, guys. I really appreciate you guys watching to the end. Hopefully you guys found something helpful in this video. If you did, leave me a like and subscribe. If you're looking to learn, there are the courses down in the description. If you do need some ranges to help you out with your trading as far as taking profit and things like that, you know that's from the options data. It's not something that I just make up in my head or anything. It's the options data pricing in how high or low a stock is supposed to go, and that's in Patreon. So thank you guys so much for watching to the end. I really appreciate it. I wish you nothing but love for all of your family and yourself out there. Go do something fun tonight, work out, touch grass, do what you got to do, and come back tomorrow with a good mentality in the morning, and I will be here to join you. Very excited for tomorrow's stream. Let's get into it tomorrow. Let's have some good attitudes showing up in the morning. All right, get your coffee ready and all that good stuff. All right, guys, I'm taking off. Hopefully you have a good night. Peace.